Hey everybody, hope you all are having a good day, night, morning, whenever it is you're watching this. So Lies of P DLC came out, and with the DLC came a claw weapon that to me is very similar to Wolverine, and so I wanted to see if I could beat Lies of P as Wolverine. The rules of this challenge are that I am only allowed to use the claws as my main weapon, I am not allowed to use a Legion arm, and I'm not allowed to use throwables. However, I am allowed to apply status effects to my claws like electricity, fire, and acid, and I'm also allowed to use the special grindstones. So with all the rules aside, we take a few minutes to upgrade our P organ before starting the run. These are the upgrades that I got that are most noteworthy. After a few minutes of upgrading, we open the train door and the run begins. So because the claws are such a aggressive weapon, I really wanted my build for this whole run to be aggressive. So because of that aggression, I decided to go with these amulets. So the Conquering Amulet makes me do more damage after hitting a parry. We have the Puppet Destroyer Amulet, which does increase damage to puppets. The Arm of God Amulet, which increases my physical attack each time an attack is successful. The Whirlwind Amulet, which is a DLC amulet, that makes me do extra damage each time a dodge is successful. And finally, we have the Hunter's Amulet +1, which increases the ergo that I gain per each enemy that I take out. With the setup finally over, we make our way through Krot Central Station, taking out any puppets in our way. As you can see, I've got my parries down, and the claws attacks are really fast, which is great, because that means we'll be dealing a lot of damage very quickly. As we make our way deeper into the station, we run into our first mini-boss. Now this boss is kind of here to introduce us to the combat system, the parries, and also the fatal attack system. Basically, if you parry an enemy enough times, their health bar will turn white, and if you get a heavy attack off while their health bar is in this state, you'll be able to inflict a fatal attack, which does an insane amount of damage. After defeating that puppet, we open these doors and we enter the Grand Central Station Plaza. Soon we run into the first boss of this run, the Parade Master. Now the Parade Master isn't that hard of a fight, but it was a good opportunity to see how good our claws would do against boss enemies, and I was pretty impressed by the damage we were doing. Plus with the additional damage that our amulets gave us, our damage output had been turned up to 11. Very soon after getting the Parade Master to phase 2, we're able to get a stagger on him, and with that we hit him with a fatal attack. The damage being a little bit underwhelming, but still not terrible. A couple of parries and a couple of claw attacks later, the Parade Master falls. With the Parade Master taken care of, we open these big double doors and we make our way into Hotel Krot. And then we leave immediately, making our way towards Elysian Boulevard. Things go pretty normally here. We throw hands with some very corrupted puppets. I agree to help this woman find her lost child. Then it was time for me to save Geppetto by taking out this mad donkey man. Now maybe it's just a skill issue, but every single time I fight this boss, I can never parry him consistently. I don't know if I'm just bad or what, but this boss has always been something that I've struggled with. Thankfully, we were able to break his weapon with a well-timed parry, and with a few more slashes, the mad donkey goes down and we save Geppetto. We make our way towards Krat City Hall, where after taking out this headless puppet, we grab a baby puppet? Huh. We give the baby puppet to the woman we were talking to earlier, and in return she gives me a record. After that we make it back to the City Hall, and it's time to face one of my favorite bosses in the whole game, the Scrapped Watchman. Now the fight was going pretty well, but the issue I noticed right away was that we weren't doing a whole lot of damage. And the fatal attack did jack shit. Anyway, we soon get him down to phase 2, and this is where he starts to get a lot more aggressive, and we have to be careful of his lightning attacks. A few minutes of some very satisfying parries and dodges, we get another fatal attack off the Scrap Watchman, getting him to low health. A few minutes of some very intense combat later, we unleash a fury of attacks on the Scrapped Watchman, and he goes down. We then make our way into Vanini Works, where we run into the Black Cat and the Red Fox. They seem like decent people. I'm sure we won't have to deal with them in the future. After that conversation, we soon find and rescue Vanini, and he'll become very helpful later in this run. And then it's time for the next boss of this run, King's Flame Fuoco. King's Flame Fuoco. I guess that's what I get for mispronouncing your name. Now, even though this boss hits incredibly hard, we're actually doing a really good amount of damage to him. We hit him with a fatal attack that did a lot of damage, and soon he went into phase 2. After a few more good parries and 1 or 2 close calls, the King's Flame finally burns out. And what the fuck? Guess you could say that was a pretty fire boss fight. Anyway, after that boss fight was taken care of, we made our way to the St. Frangelico Cathedral Chapel, where we encounter yet another boss fight, one of the scariest looking bosses in the whole game, the Fallen Archbishop. Now the first phase of this fight is actually pretty easy, and after putting some fire on our claws, we are doing a lot of damage. After getting this beautiful parry, we get the Fallen Archbishop into a staggerable state, and then we hit him with a fatal attack. We soon get the Archbishop down to phase 2, and this is where the boss fight kicks up a notch. So in second phase, there's actually 2 sides of the boss that you can fight. One side is phase 1 of the boss, and then this side that I'm fighting right here is, well, phase 2 of the boss. Now I hope that made sense, but what you're seeing right here is me fighting this side of the boss for the first time. Because I've played through this save file 5 times. This is New Game Plus 6, I believe. And so I'm usually accustomed to fighting this side of the boss because this is the side of the boss you fight in the first phase, and because most of his moves in second phase are the same, it's just a lot safer to fight that side of the boss because you already know his movesets. Anyway, the Archbishop must have heard me do all that yapping because he tried to shut me up with that ground slam attack. Thankfully though, we survived it, and we went right back to hacking and slashing at the boss. We once again get the Archbishop into a staggerable state, and after hitting him with the fatal attack, one more slash of my claws puts him down. After taking down the Archbishop, we make a pit stop at Hotel Krat to do some upgrading. We first sell all the ergo that we are collecting on our journey so far, and with a whopping 603,000 ergo, we make our way to Sofia and we get some upgrades going. I decide to max out my health level, and I get Vigor up to 80, and then we get Advanced up to 58, and our upgrades are finished. We then head over to the hotel shop where we buy some quartz and a bright red apple, which is going to come in handy later. After wrapping up our business at the hotel, we soon begin to walk the path of the pilgrim. During our hike through the woods, we run into this mini-boss, which we take care of pretty easily. A few minutes later, we enter the Malum district, where after repairing the Stargazer... Hey, wait a second. I know you guys. I talked with the Red Fox, and we agreed to join forces. A beautiful start to a new friendship. Unfortunately, our friendship didn't last very long. They decided to just leave me in the dust. Hey, just like my friend. Making our way deeper into the Malum district, we come across this mini-boss. When once defeated, drops the Patience Amulet, which increases our stamina recovery speed.
Gonna take on the Black Rabbit Brotherhood by yourself?
I wasn't planning on it, but now that you brought it up, bring it on. Now the Black Rabbit Brotherhood boss fight is actually a really fun fight. However, it's also a pretty challenging fight, because during the fight, the other brothers will jump you occasionally, which means you have to fight 2 bosses at once. Now the fight started off pretty smoothly. I was getting in a lot of good parries, and I was able to get in some decent damage. However, it wasn't long before one of the brothers attacked me, and now I had 2 bosses to fight. Now thankfully this first brother isn't too much of a hassle, and soon it was time to turn our attention to the eldest brother. After inflicting a heavy attack on the eldest brother, the second brother joins the fray, and this one isn't too hard, but he's a lot more aggressive than the first brother. Now thankfully it's pretty easy to get a backstab off the brothers, and soon the second brother is gone, leaving me and the eldest brother alone. Now up until this point I was feeling very confident that I was going to be able to take down this boss on my first try. However, that wasn't the case. Our second attempt goes a lot better, and we were able to take out the third and final brother. Now it's time for the final showdown. And a few parries and a fury of claw attacks later, the Black Rabbit Brotherhood go down. That was a very fun fight, but I'm glad that we won't see him again. We then sneak into the Black Rabbit Brotherhood's headquarters, where we steal this painting that looks oddly familiar. We make our way back to Hotel Krot, and we get some levels into Advanced and Vigor. After leveling up, we go over and talk to Geppetto, who tells me to go to Rosa Isabelle Street to take down the King of Puppets. We also hand him this portrait. It looks pretty good on that wall. I'll come back to this in a bit. Anyway, we don some new drip, and then we head over to Rosa Isabelle Street. Making our way down Rosa Isabelle Street, we soon face off against the Mad Clown Puppet. We soon use one of the Fable arts of these claws that I haven't used yet in this run, which is the Fury ability, which increases my attack speed, which means we get a lot more damage in a lot faster. A few very satisfying parries later, we get the clown puppet into another staggerable state, and after hitting him with the fatal attack, he explodes. Guess that's what you get for clowning around. With the Mad Clown Puppet taken care of, we're now able to access one of the prettiest areas in the whole game, the Opera House. A few minutes of exploring the Opera House later, we open this door and we run into the woman named Adelina. And remember that red apple we bought earlier? Well, apparently, Adelina is a huge Apple fan, just like myself. So to be kind, we gave her an apple.
But I have enough strength to confess my sins.
That sounds great, Adelina, but I got a king to dethrone. But after I take his crown, I'll come back to you. Oh look, there he is. No, I'm not here to pay you. I want your crown. I was only kidding. Now with all terrible jokes aside, this boss is actually pretty easy. He has a pretty simple moveset, and his moves are pretty easy to parry. Plus with the electricity on her claws, we do a lot of good damage. Not too long after we get the King of Puppets to phase 2, we're able to stagger him, and we inflict the fatal attack, doing a pretty good amount of damage. And with one more swipe from my claws, the King of Puppets fall. Now that was actually a pretty easy boss fight. Now I'm surprised it was oh. Well, excuse me. Now the real phase 2 of this boss fight is when things get pretty chaotic. He's a lot of fun to fight, but his moveset is very aggressive, and I'm not super great at parrying Romeo, and so I knew I was in for a fun but challenging time. However, we're soon able to stagger Romeo, and by inflicting the heavy attack, we're able to do a significant amount of damage. Well, kind of. When Romeo was buffing up, I threw on a perfection grindstone, which makes me able to parry anything as long as I'm blocking for a few seconds. Thankfully, after that combo, we're able to get a stagger off and we inflict him with the fatal attack. And then I hit him with a fury of claw attacks, dealing a crap ton of damage to him. It was a pretty intense fight, but after another parry and another strike from my claws, we're able to defeat Romeo. Yo, what's up, Adelina? I'm back. Oh. Well then. Back at the hotel, we talked to Sophia to level up some more. We get Vigor up to 90, and then we get our advanced level to 62. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit and just skip some of the next part of this game, but soon we find ourselves facing against the next boss of this run, Champion Victor. Now, Champion Victor isn't the hardest boss in this game. He is pretty aggressive though, and he is very tanky, but a lot of his moves, once you know them, they're pretty easy to parry. And Victor does seem to stagger pretty easily, because only a few parries later, we're able to stagger him and we hit him with a fatal attack. And soon we get Champion Victor down to phase 2. We throw some fire onto our claws and round 2 starts. Now in this phase, Champion Victor's moveset is pretty much the same, he's just a lot faster than before. It was a pretty intense fight, but soon we were able to stagger the so-called champion, and we hit him with another fatal attack and we deal a really good amount of damage. It took me a little bit, but we finally take down the champion, making me the real champion. Then we head back to the hotel and we sell all the ergo that we had collected on our journey. We then level up advanced to 65 and our vigor up to 85. And then as we make our way to the tram, we run into some familiar faces, and even though they were mean to me and left me behind, I still give them a piece of gold coin fruit because I'm a nice man. Hey, wait a minute. And then we arrive at our next destination, the Barren Swamp. While we're here, we take out another Mad Clown puppet for a Legion caliber. And then I take out this absolutely terrifying looking puppet that I wish to never see again. And then it was time to face the next boss, the green monster from the swamp. Now this boss in phase 1 isn't super hard. Unfortunately though, for some reason I could not parry him to save my life. Even though we weren't able to get a whole lot of parries, we were still doing a pretty good amount of damage to him. And it's not super long until we get him down to phase 2. During this phase, the monster takes control of a recycled model of the Scrapped Watchman. And because of that, a lot of the second phase moveset is pretty similar to the Scrapped Watchman's moveset. Once I get a good opening, I'm able to stagger the boss and we get a fatal attack, doing a pretty good amount of damage. I have 1 or 2 very scary close calls, and I was pretty sure I was going to die on this attempt, but with the last desperate barrage of slashes from my claws, the boss goes down. And as we travel back to the hotel, we come face to face with the Walker of Illusions. Now this boss fight is pretty random, but it's pretty cool too. We're soon able to stagger the Walker of Illusions, and 1 fatal attack, and a few parries later, we're able to take her out. And as we make our way closer to the hotel, we realize that the first boss of this game has been corrupted, and now we have to fight it again in order to get back into the hotel. Now, because this is the zombified version of the first boss of the game, his moveset is still pretty easy to deal with, and it only takes a few minutes before he goes down, hopefully for the final time. We finally make our way back to the hotel, and damn, things got pretty chaotic in here, it seems like. We throw on some swaggier attire, and then we play this piano so this secret passage opens, and that leads us to our next destination, the Relic of Trismegistus, a place that we should all be familiar with, right? Right. And while exploring this relic, we run into some familiar faces. Well, time for round 2. Now, even though this is a trio boss fight, it's not actually super hard because only one of the brothers target you at once, and just like the first time we fought these guys, it's very easy to go around and backstab him. We're soon able to take out the youngest brother. And then I turn my attention to this brother in the rabbit mask because he's definitely the most aggressive out of the 3. And soon he goes down too. And with one final backstab, all 3 brothers go down just in time for the eldest brother to burst out of his coffin, coming back from the dead. Now, the eldest brother is definitely a lot more aggressive than the other 3, and with that aggression comes a lot of strength, and because I knew he could destroy me with his combos, I made sure to play a little bit more safe. And only a few minutes later, the Black Rabbit Brotherhood finally go down, and I was able to beat them on my first try, which is pretty awesome. After that fight was over, we pulled this lever to summon a big ass submarine, and then I used my expert submarine driving skills to get us to the next destination. And once we get on this beach, we realize that Sophia's here too, waiting for us. She tells us that she is trapped inside a big ass castle, and that she wants us to go rescue her. However, I got priorities. I use up all the ergo that I collected so far, and then we get some more levels. We get capacity to level 94 and advance to 75, and oh, is that the castle I'm supposed to go to? This might take a while. While going up the castle, we run into the Black Cat. I give him another gold coin fruit, and then we part ways for the final time, thankfully on a good note. 6,000 years later, as we approach the top of the castle, we run into another one of my favorite bosses in this game, Luxasia the Complete. Now, this first phase is actually pretty easy, and maybe one of those reasons is because I spent so much time on it in my first playthrough trying to get all the parry timings. But because I'm pretty familiar with her moveset, this first phase is pretty easy for me, and a lot of fun. A few minutes later, we're able to inflict another fatal attack on Luxasia, getting her down to phase 2. For phase 2, I immediately threw on a perfection grindstone, and not for these lightning attacks, but I threw it on for a ground slam because I'm just never able to parry it. Now, I'm a lot less confident about phase 2 than I am with phase 1, because Luxasia gets insanely more aggressive in this phase, and her attacks do a lot more damage. During my third attempt, I'm able to inflict a fatal attack on Luxasia, getting her down to pretty low health. And after deflecting this ball of lightning at her, one more slash from my claws bring her down. Once we defeat her, we get our capacity level up to 100 and we get advanced up to 80. After that, we open these big fancy double doors to see Sophia. And yeah, she's seen better days, alright. We make the hard but right choice to give her some peace. and after that we continue to scale the castle. We soon run into the red fox, where after I gave her a gold coin fruit, we part ways. Again, on a good note. Before taking on the next boss, we throw on the assassin's amulet, which increases our critical damage, and then it was time to face Simon Manus. Yeah, he's looking well. The first phase of this boss is actually pretty easy, and with the fire we have on our claws, we're doing a pretty solid amount of damage. We're soon able to stagger Simon, and after inflicting a fatal attack, we get him down to phase 2. Now phase 2 is when things start to become pretty chaotic, because not only is Simon a lot more tankier in this phase, but he's also throwing so much stuff at you, and he's doing a lot of AoE attacks that can catch you off guard. Now it looks like I was going to be able to do this on my first try, but unfortunately, as I went in for the final blow, Simon got to me first, and ouch. Now it took me a few tries, but soon we were able to get a stagger off on Simon, and after inflicting the fatal attack, we got Simon down to low health. And with a fury of attacks from my claws, Simon Manus finally falls. After taking out Simon, we head down this elevator where we see Geppetto? Huh. But, like I said before, I've got priorities, and before I think about my own father, I get my advanced level up to 90.
Give me your heart, son.
That was a little aggressive for my liking. I'm good, but thank you. After my polite decline, Geppetto decides to punish me by making me face the final boss of this run, the Nameless Puppet. I throw some lightning onto my claws, and the final showdown begins. We're soon able to stagger the Nameless Puppet, and we hit him with a fatal attack, doing a pretty decent amount of damage. A few minutes of some fast-paced combat later, we go into phase 2. And speaking of phase 2, this phase kicks everything up to 11. We soon get a stagger off on the Nameless Puppet, and we hit him with another fatal attack, doing a pretty good amount of damage. A few minutes later, the Nameless Puppet goes down, concluding this Wolverine run in Liza Pete. And there you have it, Liza Pete beaten as Wolverine. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I absolutely love Liza P. It's one of my favorite Souls games that I've ever played, so I'm definitely going to be doing a lot more challenge runs with this game. This was an absolute blast to make, edit, and get footage for. So yeah, again, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, night, morning, afternoon, whenever it is that you're watching this, and I'll see you all on the next one. Thank you.